Tom Lewis. I am the Associate Deputy Director here at the NAC, and I also serve as the Chair of the Diversity Committee, and it's in that capacity that I've been given the honor and the pleasure of introducing our guest today, Queen Quet, who is the chiefess of the Gullah Geechee Nation. Before we go any further, let me take a quick poll. How many of you have heard of the Gullah Geechees? How many of you have heard? Just raise your hand if you've heard. That's just about everybody. How many of you feel like you know a little or nothing, however, about the Gullah Geechees, like me? Yes, that would be a lot of us as well. Well, we're going to remedy that today, because our guest today is Queen Quet, and she is the chiefess of that nation. She'll talk to you about its history, its culture, and toward the end of the presentation, we have saved some time so that she can talk to you about, she can answer your questions as well. She's brought with herself members of her staff, her photographer, who is also her son, Kumar, who's back there, and her mother, Carol Lee. And you have got to talk to her. You love her accent. Raised on one of the islands, and you know, I was just kind of thinking, I think I understand everything you say. It's different, it's beautiful, and that's about what cultural diversity is all about. You've got her biography, so I'm not going to repeat that to you. I will note that she is a very accomplished woman. She holds, of course, many titles, many positions. She's traveled the world. She's given presentations in lots of places. She's been recognized both nationally and internationally, and she's had many accolades for her accomplishments. It really is an honor to have her here. And so without further ado, I'm going to introduce Queen Quet, who is going to come up at this point and give her presentation. Queen Quet.
This storm so long. I've been in this your so long, crying, Lord, Lord, give me more time for pride. I've been in this your storm so long. Oh, this your honey tongue. Oh, this your honey tongue, crying, Lord, Lord, give me more time for pride. I've been in this your storm so long. Well, I put on the how to do. Red ball kind of raw thing with it. God, put on the children how to do. Okay, must have now come too much of thing when it is now for lunch. That what up? Yeah, we done for lunch. Huh? Wait. You know how that people look right deep like they show up, you know, you don't get too much of kind of thing like that. Not tell us up. Now how would I play? Most of them children you're supposed to be lawyer and things like that. How lawyer throw up your hand? You're a lawyer? What can it? Someone trying to correct the thing this year. When if a client coming in and correcting people like that this year? What will I do? You can do this and do that. That's what happened. That folks, you can't help them. Come on, then. They ain't help them. No? On a non-stand talk. So if McCarthy got arrested, they get to help your children? Yeah, my brother not dead yet. So if I do speak this other way, it'll help you? Oh, you help them all the time. Because at least when I said that, he went. Whether he knew what I was saying or not, he went. So he helped all of y'all. So does this help? Yes. Here in Columbia, with all of my attorneys and the like, does this help? Yes. So if a client comes into you speaking like this, can you help them? But then when they throw them down like this, you don't. See, that's why Gullah Geechees can't get no justice today. Y'all don't understand. So now my own question has already been answered. I can go back to the hour. So I said when I got all these messages saying U.S. Department of Justice want to touch, I said I do that. What they want? They want. I'm betting with the White House. What they want? Okay. They said, no. They want you to come speak. Who they got down there I need to speak for? No. They got a diversity committee. Let's go over truth. They got any Gullah Geechee in it? And obviously you don't have any of us. So y'all ain't diversified enough for me. I'm about to join. All right? But definitely, then they said they'd like you to come speak in Columbia, South Carolina. I said, Columbia, sir? You mean Columbia the country? You know, y'all be having embassies, secret embassies and stuff in people's countries, so I just knew I'm getting another flight out the U.S. Listen, no ma'am. Right there up the road, Columbia, South Carolina. I thought you had a conference in Columbia, South Carolina. Y'all was coming to ask for diversity in the Department of Justice. They said, oh, no. They work there. I said, see, the government always up to something. When the federal government get the Department of Justice in South Carolina? So I asked several people that said, I didn't know that. I said, I didn't either. This whenever that lady come on TV, that's in charge of that she in D.C., I said, I know. Unless somebody going to jail in that part of the country. You know what I'm saying? But we didn't know that y'all were even here. All up in this plantation looking buildings. And that was said the mini White House that y'all got right, y'all. I said, well, excuse me. And I said, well, I like the building. It's very nice. They said, this is your tax dollars anywhere. And I said, I see that. And I'm glad to know that our tax dollars are and work on what others call diversity. I can tell you right now, there's no such word in Gullah. So if I can correct people like this, I'm going to say, well, I'm not telling you word on diversity or whatever. Okay, because there's no word for diversity. However, Gullah Geechees are the epitome of what most people are seeking to do when they start talking about diversity. And that is the bringing together of varieties of different types of people from different walks of life. Our ancestors were Igbo, Mandinka, Malinke, Yoruba, Gola, Yizi, Mendi, Temni, Ifi, Ibibio, Yamasi, Abisto, Cree, and all of these other African children. Even some of them are called Seminole today. And if you see in our national flag of the Gullah Geechee Nation, the center of it is a tree. But that tree is an African family tree. It is human bodies intertwined. Unlike in America, when you go to the family reunion and they do that little grid, and they do a floor chart, have the two names at the top and the arrow coming down and the other two coming over there. In West Africa, they send out the master carver that finds the tree, that speaks to him or her, usually a him. And then that artisan then etches out the bodies of the family members because they're always interconnected. They can never be separated. And that then is the family tree. So the center of our flag is a symbol of that connection of all of these African peoples. as well as our connection with the indigenous Americans that were here when we got here, and some of whom got intermarried. That's how on my mother and my father's side, I have indigenous American, or people would say Native American ancestry, in addition to African ancestry. Because my family is from St. Helena Island, as well as Dartmouth and Palawano. The interesting thing that I found out about Palawano as I started to write our story down, because most people have never heard of Gullah Geechee. Let's go for you was honest, and just point blank honest, that really I don't know a dog or thing but me. I just came up in here so I could tell you all my soul what to do. I could tweet that. And then some of y'all was honest. Y'all like, look, I want to break out the office. So whatever she talking about, we'll sit up in here right quick. Something but the Gullah Geechee, something, I'm just going to do that. Okay, I know, you were honest. And some of y'all gonna play like y'all really knew, all about it. But when we asked, if you don't know anything, you was like, what are you talking about? I know something. But y'all know y'all never really know. But that's all right. But so, some folks really don't. They never heard of us in their lives, and they live in South Carolina. And this is where it all began, on Sullivan's Island, in Charleston County, South Carolina, where over 40% of all Africans enslaved in North America came through. And then what we call the historic downtown Charleston, that was Charlestown, that we say, they're called Chucktown and things like that. Okay, that became the #1 enslavement auction block in North America. So people didn't hear of my people as I traveled around. And I was wondering, what's wrong with these people? How did they never hear of us? Or they heard of us. They heard some legends, like we talked about at lunch. They heard some myths that I had to unravel. And I started wondering, why is that the case? And I started realizing we weren't writing our story down. We passed our story down in the bodies of those people. But if they die off, the story's not getting transferred. So I started writing. One of the things I love to do. So I started doing research. And I started looking at what others had written about us and found a lot of it laughable. But now I understood why some people didn't know who we were even when they met us, because the stuff in their book showing none of what we lived. Somebody had fictionalized us. Someone had made us just into a series of Brer Rabbit stories and this kind of thing, and we're looking at this stuff like, who are they talking about? Who are these folks in the book that they're showing us? All right? So I said, well, that's fine. Then, you go to these classes that are his story classes. Oh, he tells a story. I ain't in it. So I said, well, sometimes there are mistakes, there are errors. Machines, don't always work. So that means that if there's a printing press, maybe it had a malfunction at the time it got to the chapter on my people. And so it didn't work, and they didn't realize, and they bound the books, and that chapter just got missed. So I helped them. I got to write them chapters for them and make sure they get published, okay? So I started publishing books, and the first book I actually did was with my brother. It was a poetry book called Brother and Sister Heart to Heart, and people came to the historic Penn Center, which was Penn School, the first trade, agricultural, and normal school for freedmen, exists on our home island, St. Helena Island. And every year, we had this annual festival, which is now 33 years old, called the Heritage Day Celebration. Well, I did my production, this play, had the Brick Baptist Church, founded in 1833, packed upstairs and downstairs. Had to start the show late, because they were still getting people in. Show ended, people ready to leave the door, they said, but she has books. They all turned around and came to the front to buy these books. Would get up there and say, what is this? It's poetry. Where the history book? So well, she ain't got no history book, but she got poetry. You want a Bible? You don't want a Bible. They're like, we want a Bible, I'm a Bible book. But I'm saying, with all of the history she just told us, she ain't got no history book. I was like, no. The but do you still want the book? I'm paying you for this book, but you need to get on with writing this history book. So that then said to me, okay, you don't want these hostile people in your audience. And you do know how to write other things. Go ahead and write a history book. So I wrote one about my home island, St. Helena Surrender. And I became the first Gullah Geechee to write about the whole history of our home island. This now started to put before people the experience and the story of Gullah Geechees from our perspective and about our story. Not about somebody else's story of what they did to us, but what it was that we brought to the world as Gullah Geechees. Because often the story is told the other way. You know, there were slaves kidnapped from Africa. Okay, that's all wrong. There were African people who were kidnapped. They were captured and kidnapped, and then they were taken from their homeland and then dropped on various islands around the world, some of which became the Sea Islands, from Jacksonville, North Carolina to Jacksonville, Florida. And then they were enslaved on those Sea Islands and exploited for their knowledge, or as we would say today, skill sets, such as blacksmithing, not just agriculture, as people try to make it look like the only thing Gullah Geechees can do is cook food, sing spirituals, and then they can go ahead and make baskets. Not true. In fact, we are the ones that laid the cornerstone for what became known as America. The African people brought in the skills that cleared the land before there even was plantations, smelted the iron. Then the very same trees they cut down, they were the architects and the construction workers that built the buildings that look like this. And many Gullah Geechees still do that. Many of our people that are native to this area still do that, and they're all over the country doing it unto this day. And I say, and that is a living testimony to the knowledge base that was brought from the motherland. When you read the journals of the enslavers, they wrote of us as black gold, black cargo. And I always ask people, you ever heard of gold that wasn't rich? No. I haven't met a person yet that heard of the word gold and don't already think riches. So that means the people that were kidnapping my ancestors already knew the richness that they were taking from that continent. They also realized how much richer they would become if they could exploit what these people already knew. But they couldn't let the people they kidnapped continue to tell their children's children's children how rich they were. So now they had to play a psychological game. We're going to take your names from you. So you can't be Igbo, and you can't be Mandinka, and you can't be Malinke, and you can't be Yoruba, and you can't be Gola, and you can't be Gidzi. You have to be called slaves. And also, when we get over to the person, you like this, we can't have that, we can't understand all. So just like y'all were doing a while ago, they were like, oh, no, you can't be talking like that because I can't understand. But it was because we had our own language that became the amalgamation of numerous African languages and dialects, and then incorporated some Elizabethan English the more we encountered Europeans that spoke that language. Some spoke also Spanish and incorporated it. We had Moscovo that are Gullah Geechees that live in Mexico, so when they speak Gullah, they have a little bit of Spanish in it, okay, as loan words, instead of English. And then when you hear Afro-Seminoles, I mentioned earlier, the Seminoles speak what I call Old Gullah, versus us here that speak Gullah, because they migrated to Texas and Oklahoma speaking Gullah way back before the Trail of Tears. But when they went into the second diaspora, after being part of the African diaspora, Gullah Geechee diaspora was created, but all these people being spread out, people took on again different names for the same people. But when you hear Gullah Geechee, Afro-Seminole, Black Seminole, those are still all the same people. Whether they're in the Bahamas, whether you hear Moscovo in Mexico, whether you hear, we right here and think like that in South Carolina, like in the Caribbean, like that shit. we're all one and the same. But again, the psychological thing was, oh no, we can't have y'all thinking y'all the same, but then your problems will be each other's problems, so we can't have that. Y'all be unifying around that. We can't have that. So I have to now teach you that any little difference amongst you, exploit that difference so that you have envy and strife and difficulty amongst each other, and then you won't work together. Didn't work where we were. As our elders always told us, never mean for evil, but God mean for good. So the fact that they put us on islands, and this room is a perfect example. I could take each one of these tables, and each one of these could be a different sea island. But yet, we can be right here, once and tell them. And I could start up this year. Right here, right? The Lord is walking up, boom. God said it. God stop the way. You ask him up. You said Simon. You will be a God. God said, what happened to you? You ain't on the cross. You ain't got yourself. Now, that is exactly the same way uprisings happen throughout chattel enslavement from the 16th through the 1800s. They were never able to convince everybody they were a slave and that they had to be a slave for the rest of their life and that every generation would be enslaved for the rest of their life. They couldn't convince people. They still remember, they have collective consciousness that they were free people and that no one else had a right to treat them the way they were being treated. So when that spark would start, right there in the bush shop and brush shop and Bria's house and things like that, that spark, the lightning would just go round, 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 round. You had all that noise, like, I'm gonna turn that out. Y'all would drive all that big up thing called the SUV, or yeah, y'all call it SUV. And things like that. Y'all got all these things, y'all, where y'all be on all the time. And all that. Y'all got all them things and TV and things like that. That broke up all the sound wave and all that kind of thing. So no, you can't hear nothing now. He was sitting right next to y'all, talking y'all little hair. Animal. Oh! You talking to me? And then y'all don't hear anything where it took the circle making us hear everything. And one thing you realize when you live in the circle, like our family compounds still are, houses built around in a circle, and multiple generations of the same people who had previously been enslaved on those islands were the same people who bought those islands in our land in 1862 during the U.S. Civil War. And many of us have maintained that ownership up to this moment. Yes, that's already, that's a blessing, yes ma'am. All right, and so as we live together in the circle, you quickly realize you don't want to throw all kinds of stuff out in the circle. Because why? What happens? Because it happens because what? Because it come back around. Say it loud.
It'll come back around.
It'll come back around. The same way that I went right on around like that meant whatever I put out there, it's going to make its way back. I heard y'all got my bio. I don't know if the government altered it or not. They didn't give me a copy. What? Okay. I am a mathematician and computer scientist, so I can tell you by degrees. I can tell you everything doesn't necessarily come back at the same pace. It gains momentum a lot of times and get back around too. So where I might come over to this sister, what's your name? Linda. See, Linda listening. See, when I call Linda name, she heard me, ain't like the Angela over there. I just blame her. But now, if I come to Linda, and just for nothing, just won't do that to Linda, right? But now I ain't gonna walk out on Assembly Street and a car hit me. I certainly for the pastor and the deacon and y'all got to come out. You might only scream an ankle, but I want everybody to come nothing to do with me, really. She just sitting there. But I just feel I'm on enough, so, whoa. But when it gave momentum, it came back as a call. So any energy we put out, it eventually does come back. So when you live the way we do communally, and in that family circle, with everybody still intertwined, that you can go down the road and meet somebody and you got to ask them, okay, wait, we on there? So-and-so, oh really? Who your people? Who your mama? So-and-so. Who your daddy? So-and-so. You sure that ain't your daddy? Yeah. Okay, who your grandmama? So-and-so. Who your granddaddy? So-and-so. That your mama or your daddy's house? That my mama's house. Who the one on your daddy's house? So-and-so. Oh, see, same thing now. I thought we be cousins. Let me alone. Let me alone. How we cousins? We can't be cousins, girl. What you talking about? You look too good to be kidding me. You right, but I am. Let me tell you. See, your great-great-granddaddy had married to the sister of my great-great-granddaddy. And they had one child. And that one child is so-and-so who hadn't been living here for a long time. But see, that actually who your daddy is. And see, that's how come I know I came to you. Because see, you ain't know that because you got raised by Aunt Susie. Daddy boy just already that color Stacy. You know. But that's still the way we live. So y'all ain't got no intel on us, Department of Justice. Y'all have no intel on us. We don't need computer, cell phone, nothing. We got it right here. File, dossier, what to do, you're lazy, you're trifling, no, you're good people, we got it all. 400 years back, right here. All you do, you go to that old folks' house and sit on the porch and say, I need somebody named so-and-so. What part of the island they from? So-and-so, that thing trifling. Okay? So for us, that can be annoying sometimes, but it's a blessing too. Because that means that when you need somebody to speak for you, they truly can. They can speak to your character, and they can speak to the generations of people you come from, and the place that you've been in and on, and how you sustain what you're holding on to, that now the world tends to know we're here. With a little help, you know, a few printing presses and a thing called social media, more of the world knows we're here. In fact, I had a Mandingo woman walk up to me in the U.S. Post Office right up here before I came to this building. And I saw her going out, I saw her glance, and there that spirit said, that ain't it. And sure enough, I saw her get to the door and turn right back around. I said, she's coming for me. And she came through, she said, good afternoon, God bless you. She said, I saw you on TV. I said, did you? She said, you're the queen, right? She said, who? I said, the Gullah Geechee. She said, yes, I'm Mandingo. She said, we are born in Africa, we saw you on TV. And I'm so proud to have a chance to meet you because you're holding the culture. He said, oh, this is so good. I said, well, you're closer to come to me now than you are when you were home. I said, what country are you from? She said, Guinea. I said, family. And I hugged her. This is only a couple of hours ago. So that tells you how strong our connections, our cultural traditions still are. That our people getting the Krakow way across the water and watching it in Canada, right back, same way in Canada right there. And so I'm getting other Geechee people who also want to bring me up, but one want to take me back. And so that flow of energy from one to another can push us apart or draw us together. And fortunately for us as Gullah Geechees, we've been drawn together over and over. And the reason I even accepted this invitation when it came into my office, two different directions. They wouldn't give it up, I got to say. I wouldn't want y'all to fight a case with me because y'all are determined, okay, to get me here. I said to my assistant, I said, given what has happened here in the Gullah Geechee Nation this year, with the death of Walter Scott, with the death of the Emmanuel Nine, many of whom I knew, including Senator Clementi Pinckney, who was the first person to have me honored by the General Assembly just a few blocks away here. I said, I have to go talk to a department of our justice. Because now we're coming together, but we're coming together with a wrong thing. We're coming together over casket after casket after casket that shouldn't yet have to be dropped down in the ground. Now again, I'm not questioning the time God has on each person's life, but I am questioning what we are doing with the life we've been given by God. What energy are we sending out to each other? And now what is coming back home? And so, to that end, I said, well, I have to climb the hill often to go to D.C. I said, but I can wind up the road to the midnight. I ain't going to walk, but I still wind up. I said, because at least they may have questions for me, but I also hope they have some answers on how the Department of Justice can work with the Gullah Geechee Nation so that we can start to heal our people, heal our streets, and get more community harmony so that we all know that no matter what your culture is, whatever energy you put out here in the world, it's going to make its way back home at some point. So we say we really are about justice, we have to live that. We can no longer have it where that's a word in the English dictionary, but then amongst the black community, it's separated into two words, just us. See, he said it before I got here. He know I'm done. And that's what most of our people say, yeah, I know. Department of Just Us, that means we're in jail, right? Who you going to speak for today, Queen? Prisons again? Because I've spoken to many of them. And I've spoken to many of our people that ended up there who wrote me letters after they got there and said, I just got to read a book of yours that's in here in the prison library, and I'm Gullah Geechee, and I wish I had had this book before I took to the streets. Because I ended up in the street because I was looking for something, didn't know what it was. I had to come to prison to find out looking for my own culture, my own people. Because they've been displaced from land, separated, gentrified out of areas like Charleston, and ended up scattered and then didn't know what to do. Because see, when you can just go on and thing like that and say, yeah, look, I ain't trying to cook and thing like that, but yeah, look, I ain't gonna fry fish, I ain't even got no grease, you got something? Hey, look, you some real good, you ain't even got no grease, yeah, I just finished with your fry. I fry mullet, yeah, I just finished fry white in this pan, let's get this pan right to your house with this damn grease. Because I want a piece of mullet. Okay, I'll bring that mullet over here and fry them out. Okay, oh, we'll do it too. Don't got to borrow nothing to cook with. They want some of what you're cooking. So, my mother said, that's right. Laura, you better have your kitchen stocked. Because Laura, you gonna share now. So, but all of us make sure we all eat. And that's not just physically, that's spiritually as well. And so I pray today that, you know, I had something for NAPCON before I get in here. I had something to eat here, and I had to check first. I had to have my, you know, cupbearer eat first, and then I ate. I don't know. Well, second, I gotta watch it. But no, I had an excellent lunch here. We definitely want to spread the table now for us to hopefully nurture each other. It's been a blessing. But y'all can cheer yourselves on because this is the first presentation Queen Quet has ever made in the history of the world for the U.S. Department of Justice. Definitely applaud my sister here because she was diligent and determined to get me here. I appreciate it.
I think we now know why they call her